Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Pinstripe Chronicles. I'm Uncle Tess. I'm here with Donald. And before we get too deep into the Yankees discussion, as the chat is already on fire, we appreciate everybody that has joined the chat. We do. Donald, that shirt is fire, bro.
Yeah. Derek Jeter, baby. That's a real Yankee right there.
You can, and what's going on, Dev, who just re-upped his membership for another 14 months. Appreciate you, bro. You've been a very, very loyal supporter and a great friend. So thank you for that. Listen, part of it is there's an announcement for a big channel update. And for us, it's very huge. But unfortunately, there's been an absence from Rob for a while, and unfortunately, he's so good at his job they made it permanent. So Rob will not be able to really commit to the Pinstripe Chronicles at this point. But Donald has the happy side of it, and before we get to that, I do want to add that Rob is still a very, very, very he's a brother to us. We support him. This was not an easy decision for him. But we do wish him the best. We hope that on his days off, he's able to, and we're doing a show. He knows he's more than welcome to come on and join us. So, Rob, we wish you the best. We're gonna miss you. But you made a decision that was not easy, but you had to make it. And we have you back.
We thank Rob for the 5+ years, man. He was with us from the start, and we wouldn't have gotten to where we are without him. So much love to Rob. But we needed to go in a direction where we're able to have someone that can commit and help drive us forward into hopefully a really positive new direction. And with that being said, we have actually got a new co-host to join us on the morning show twice a week. I'm really excited to announce this. This guy, I've been working with this guy for a long time, and to be fair, I don't believe that there's a better content creator out there. This guy works incredibly hard doing Nick stuff. He actually worked for NYYU for a while, had a show in NYYU. He was part of the Big Blue in the Bronx. He was part of the Boys in the Big Apple. He's been my co-host for a while. We've worked together for a very long time. He's my close friend. And I think you guys are going to love him. And I'm really excited to move him. I think he's going to be the missing piece for this channel. This guy is, it's Luca! Luca, welcome to the Pinstripe Chronicles, my friend.
Thank you. Very warm welcome. You guys remarked on Rob, obviously, not being able to contribute as much to the channel. Must I say as well, I also knew Rob. We met down in Florida it's almost 2 years ago, like sometime this month, back in 2023. Donald was a part of that trip. But must I say, Rob, I hope you're doing well, first of all, second of all, and we're obviously still friends. And, we'll obviously keep in touch and whatnot. But second of all, thank you to Donald and Tats and the chat. I mean, the chat, you guys are always fire, whether I just check in for a few minutes before I go back to sleep, because I don't know if you guys know. Some of you might know, some of you might not. I've been turned nocturnal for most part due to my schedule. If you guys don't know, I work at my local news station as a news producer, so that is big doings. But regardless, I still have enough time in my day throughout the week that I can contribute about twice a week to the Pinstripe Chronicles, Yankee stuff, all that, and I will come with as much energy and fire that a third co-host should come up with. I'm going to match Donald's and Tat's energy. We're going to have a lot of fun on this channel. I've been watching Chronicles since 2022, so there's a lot to get into, but I just wanted to say what's up to all of y'all, and thank you. And if you guys haven't already, of course, subscribe, hit the like button, do all the good stuff. Hit the socials for everybody here.
Yeah, it's good to have everybody. Welcome, Luca. Uncle T, my friend.
Yeah, no, look, we were very happy to hear. When Donald brought up your name, it was a no brainer. We're glad to have you with us. We kind of jumped at it before. I'm like, we'll get it before somebody else gets the idea of it. So no, we do appreciate. We're blessed to have you with us. So it's just gonna, it's gonna be a very fun time. We're all gonna have a lot of laughs. And yeah, congrats. We've built this thing for a long time, and we've known each other for a long time. And so
Rob's
it's
fine. He's got a new job and he's backing away from the channel. So we've made a new business decision. Move forward with this trio, and I'm excited for it.
Yes.
So shall we talk some Yankees, baby?
Yes, the Yankees have made a trade with the Marlins. It was not the one that we had first anticipated with Cabrera, but they were finally able to make a deal with the Marlins nonetheless, and the Yankees have acquired Ryan Weathers, and he is going to be in the rotation. And there's a lot of mixed feelings about this move. Some are excited to have the pitching depth. I always like to have pitching depth.
Yes, you do.
And some are like, his injury history. He does have a tendency to give up the long ball. How's that going to translate to playing at home in the Bronx? But my view on this is, yes, it's exciting to see the Yankees finally make a move and get something done. It may not have been the shiniest toy, but at least we could say that they brought somebody in that was not on the team last year. So, the bar is not set too high in that regard of the excitement, where I'm going to be like, oh, this is great. This is going to save our season. No, that's not this type of move. I think this was a calculated move to get some arms in, an arm in that can get you length in the rotation until we have our regularly scheduled rotation back in play with Cole, Rodon, Schmidt. So I can't see. Yes, I know. Yeah, no, I know TC. I know his father played. He was on the Yankees for 96 and 97. So there is the family tie there, just like we had last year with Bellinger. But Luke, I'll throw it to you. How do you feel about this move? You think it was good, bad, indifferent? How you feeling?
I guess you could say indifferent. I think he's got plus stuff in terms of fastball. His sweeper has been mentioned as a pretty good pitch of his. I know what was it? NFE who mentioned in the chat that that Weathers does have a bit of an injury history, especially dating back to last year. I think he started the season on the injured list with a forearm strain. And I believe he also had a lat strain in the middle of the season as well. I think Weathers is a solid arm move for the sake of arms. I don't think, or at least I hope not, that the Yankees would be expecting major contributions out of him. Whether it's some people mentioned the bullpen, the starter. As a starter, last year I think he started all the games that he pitched, and I think the same goes for a year before. Not the most durable, which is my biggest concern, because the Yankees, as you guys have mentioned many times, Garrett Cole's going to be out. Clark Schmidt's going to be out. Carlos Rodon's going to be out. You need somebody to step up. Obviously, you have Schlittler. You have Heel when he's healthy. You have Will Warren. Yarborough obviously got retained, but he was on the team last year, so what difference does it make? I'm kind of indifferent. If it's just an arm and the Yankees go out and make another move, let's say trade for a Freddie Peralta or whatever, that's fine, but this cannot be like an end-all, be-all move. Like, okay, this is our bullpen move. And I'll say this, like if he was to move to the bullpen, I think that would be fine too, because the Yankees have lost arms this offseason. Jonathan Loaisiga's gone, although would you really say he's been a factor for the Yankees the past 2-3 years? He's been spending most of his time on the injured list. Luke Weaver's gone. Devin Williams is gone. So whether you like those guys or not, you're replacing a pretty big void. So right now it's Bednar. You obviously have Duvall, I'm not going to say he's a bit of a project, but I think he could have pitched better with the Yankees last year. Also, as well, I mean, Jake Bird, what is he? Because the Yankees obviously traded for him as a big marquee pitching reliever in that big trade with the Rockies, but obviously he sucked and was brought down to AAA. So I think it's a solid depth move, not somebody you should be relying on consistently.
Yeah, I think the biggest narrative or takeaway is of the criticism is here's another injury-prone player that the Yankees went after, but he also does almost like with Jake Bird and Duvall, like there's still the years of control where now you could it's something you could work with. It's not a rental that you're hoping you're not paying them for 1 year hoping they give you 15 starts, or at least maybe I think if they're able to get if they're able to take the ball every fifth day while we wait for Cole and Rodon and Schmidt to get back, I don't think that you could look at that as a loss in any way. Donald, what do you think?
I'm not worried about the return.
Yeah.
I'm not really worried about what we're sending out, to be fair. One or two guys. I don't think any of them really are going to pan out to be anything serious. So, like, I don't really care about what we sent out. And we brought in some upside. So I think there's some things to be excited about. For instance, is like 98, 99 mile an hour fastball is good. I like his sweeper, and he's got a change up too. Slider. I think he's got some decent stuff that a Matt Blake would love to work with. I think that's what the Yankees are banking on. This guy does have some high end. Well, no, I wouldn't say high end stuff. I would say he's got third starter stuff, maybe fourth starter stuff, but it has some upside. I do believe that he's probably going to be in the rotation to start with, as long as he's healthy. But at least you know that he does have experience out of the bullpen, so that it would be a seamless move. And heck, we do need a lefty in the bullpen anyway to help along with Tim Hill. So like it wouldn't be that much of a problem to move him over there. But I think you're probably looking at him to being in the starting rotation right now. He actually had some pretty good numbers when he was healthy. Well, in the few starts that he was healthy, he's not been healthy very much at all. But in the very few times he was healthy, he's had some decent starts. Other positive, he's got years of control. So got plenty of control there with him, like 3 years of control. I think there's something that Matt Blake would love to work with. So that's what the Yankees are banking on. And although the Yankees have a real player development issue, it's not with pitching. They're actually pretty good with developing pitching. They're pretty good with developing pitching and catching. Those are the two areas where the Yankees actually excel at developing. Catching department, it would be with Tanner Swanson. He's very good at that. And with the Yankees, got Matt Blake's pitching factory. And Matt Blake's pitching factory is pretty solid. So the Yankees are banking on Matt Blake to develop him. Is it going to be a game-changing move? No. Does it really move us much forward? Probably not. But I'm not going to complain about adding a guy with plus stuff as a possible rotation member that can hold the fort until Garrett Cole, Rodon, etc. get fully healthy. So yeah, it's okay. I'm certainly not like down on it. I'm not like excited. And there's plenty of ways this could go. I don't want this to be another like Scott Efros, for instance, where we made that trade where we gave up good prospects to bring in Scott Efros, and then Efros just absolutely got hurt from day one. I mean, Brian Cashman, let's be honest, Brian Cashman loves injured guys. He loves them. I mean, if he had the choice between a fully healthy guy and a perennially injured guy, he'd be like, yes, give me that injured guy every single time. So we know this Brian Cashman, but on this occasion, there's some upside there.
Seeing both sides, I wanted to interject real quick. I know NFE is bringing up, obviously that pitchers in this day and age who throw high velocity. If you guys check out, I don't know which podcast it was on. This was just revolving baseball around. Goose Gossage had a lot of words for MLB's play, just in general, the 2020s, 2010s, how much he hates it. But regardless, pitchers who pitch high velocity nowadays are obviously prone to injuries, Tommy John surgery, and all that. And, I wouldn't be such a big, and I'm not like downing the move completely. The problem is with pitchers who have arm injuries come into the Yankees don't exactly handle any type of injury situation well. That's one concern. But obviously, you're hoping that this guy doesn't play a major role. But if he gets hurt like April or May, when you're going to have to cover for Garrett Cole or Rodon or Clark Schmidt, and it's due to negligence, that's a problem. But again, the hope is here, you just hope he doesn't play a major role. It's just a depth move. It's solid. I don't care for the package we gave up. I just don't care about it.
Yeah, two prospects. Yeah, two prospects that were not even in the top 10, and two prospects that weren't even ranked. This wasn't. We didn't give up. We didn't give up anything.
No, really.
To get some depth. I think it's not a bad trade. It's now we got to see what we get out of it.
We got Issy in the chat. I've watched a lot of Weathers being in SoCal when he was in San Diego. He's got to get another pitch in his mix. His overusage of his flat fastball gets tagged. Batters sit on it all the time. Thank you very much for the scouting report there, Issy. And I do agree. That is something that happens with him. His fastball gets tagged. It really does get tagged. But what I will say is that Matt Blake tends to emphasize your secondary pitching anyway, your secondary pitches anyway. So I think that won't be too much of a problem. I think Matt Blake will make sure that he kind of helps disguise that fastball with his secondary pitches. So I think it should be a little better, but it is a concern. It's definitely a concern, especially with Yankee Stadium and that little wind tunnel over there in right field. Like, I don't want to see too many balls going out of the yard with him. But we got Magumby in the chat. Salute to you. This trade gives him options. Yeah, exactly, because he can work out of the bullpen. Power lefty of the bullpen is something the Yankees need as well. Exactly. So, like, there is some positivity there. We got Jacob Petruzzi saying that Milwaukee loves Louis Heel. This could open up a Heel for Peralta deal. Let's open up to the panel. Would you do a Heel for Peralta deal?
I absolutely would. Absolutely. Peralta's got top stuff. Luis Heel has been on and off the injured list, battled some inconsistencies. I would do it 100%, 110%. I was just looking at some of Baseball Savant's rankings for Ryan Weathers. He's ranked in the 86th percentile in fastball velo. We all know that. His fastball average is around 96, 97. But his hard hit percentage and his barrel percentage are among the lowest of percentiles. Now, it doesn't give me an exact number. It just grades in the poor area. His strikeout percentage is close to average, with percentages there. But as I said, barrel percentage and hard hit percentage is a concern. So that's something to keep an eye on.
You know what? Let's bring that up to the screen.
Yeah, let me pull it up.
There we go. Here, I got it up here for you. Because he's not pitched enough, because he was hurt basically all year, it's all faded out. But it's quite clear, as you're saying, the fastball velo is the one thing that stands out with percentages there. That's solid. Doesn't walk too many guys is good too. But the rest, not too good. Pitching run value, -2. Fastball run value, -2. But his breaking run value is good, +3. So he's got good breaking stuff. But a lot of it is all faded out because he just didn't pitch enough. What do you guys think?
I'm also going to say, I'm reading down below in the pitch tracking. You notice he has a very good whiff percentage on his changeup, about 40%. But the problem is he's also being tagged with that changeup. About 286 hitters hit against that changeup. 20.6% put away percentage. For the whiff percentage on the fastball, about 18%, just a tad below 20. And he's also being tagged for a 260 average. So hitters hit less, but also he gave up 7 home runs last year in limited starts. So more homers against the fastball as opposed to the changeup. But there's like a bit of risk and reward right there. As I said, 40% whiff percentage on the changeup, but he has given up 3 home runs and a 286 batting average and a 571 slug. So that's not exactly ideal.
Look, I think the reality is we know we're not trading. We didn't make this trade to get an ace in the staff. He's not coming in to close out games where he's going to be in that situation where, he's got, it's all on his shoulders to get us to win. It's a stopgap rotation guy that can slot into the bullpen, and be that, that high velocity lefty to counter the lefty and Tim Hill, who's more of a finesse guy. So, yes, though there are a lot of pros and cons with this move. I can't sit here and be like, oh my God, this is going to save our pitching for the season. That's not what this move is. And I think it's neglect to even think that. It's not naivety. In regards with the heel with Peralta, my thought on that. If I'm moving heel, I'd rather somebody that had that would be more than a rental. If they do, but if they made the trade, heel for Peralta, I'd be a fool to be mad at it. But heel would not. I would be hesitant to move heel for a rental. But I can't be mad if that rental is Peralta.
And so we'll get into the Louis Hill Peralta thing in a second. Just talk a little bit more about Ryan Weathers. Keith Law had an article on The Athletic. So I looked at what he analyzed of this trade here. So he's saying here, I was a little surprised to hear they traded for a starter, sending 4 players to Miami for Ryan Weathers. My interpretation of the deal is that this is less about adding a starter to fill out the rotation and more about acquiring a candidate for their player development group to try to help, given the success they've had over the last few years with improving pitchers' arsenals. And that is true. Like the proof is in the pudding, as they say. Weathers was the number 8 pick way back in 2018 by the Padres, but then spent 2019 in the minors, didn't pitch in 2020, then made the Padres opening day roster when he was 21. He's improved his command and control since then, and he was traded to the Marlins in 2023, and he developed his sweeper at that point. But he didn't throw until 2023 as an above average. Okay, here we go. There isn't a ton. This is what he breaks down here. There isn't a ton of deception in his delivery, and I think hitters pick up on the fastball. So that's exactly what Issy says here. So there isn't much deception in his delivery. Hitters pick up on his fastball, which has a little arm slide run because he tends to drop his arm slightly on his other pitches, which may also be why he's been fairly homer prone in the majors. He's missed major time last year with forearm and lat injuries. But when he did pitch, he threw harder than ever, averaging around 97 miles per hour on the four-seamer and 84% on his sweeper. 84 miles per hour on his sweeper. So I can see why the Yankees would be interested in acquiring him as a project for their pitching development team. If he gets healthy, he's a 4th starter with a fair bit of room for growth beyond that. As for the Marlins, this is a quantity over quality return, who are clearly focused on players with the kind of data for their player development model. Dylan Lewis is the best example of that. He's someone that they liked. He says, I bet on Lewis, but I also but he says that there's Juan Matheus as well, switch hitting infielder who pulls the ball a ton and makes generally good swing decisions. Dylan Yasso spent all of 2025 in Double-A, showing better pitch selection than the stat line might indicate. 257 batting average. Brandon Jones hit 245 as a 23-year-old. Yeah, it's kind of old for high A, I would say. So I don't think there's too much that we gave up. Dylan Lewis is the one that that they liked. I'm not too worried about what we gave up at all. So as he says here, he's a fourth starter if he gets healthy, with a bit of room for growth beyond that. So you're probably looking at maybe a third starter if it all works out. And that's, to be honest, that's kind of what we were looking for anyway. So in Cashman's defense, he's going with that upside, and I can see it. There is some upside there with that move, and I like it a hell of a lot more than freaking Yarbrough and what freaking Paul Blackburn. Good God in heavens above, he's an awful pitcher. So Weathers will be better than that.
Yeah, and I to even throw one other thing into it, with Armando saying Weathers has the option so he can be sent down when Cole and Rodon come back. That's also possible. It's not it's not the craziest idea. Like I said, this is not a trade that's going to save the off season or get everybody hyped up. All right, here we go, opening day, we're ready to go. This was just it was a calculated move to get some pitching depth. For the rotation until they get healthy, and then in the bullpen, if he's really pitching well and he's healthy. I don't see. I see more upside than downside in this.
Oh yeah, I think you can make it 60-40 kind of a thing.
I think that's a fair ratio. Luca?
I was going to say it's not a make or break move. It's not going to make the Yankees offseason like, oh my God, we did this, or break the offseason. Oh, this is a terrible move. No, it's just a solid arm. As Donald said from the Keith Law article, he's basically third, fourth starter stuff. He has 2 years of control. You didn't really give up a lot for him. It's not like you traded multiple top prospects, as we mentioned, I think earlier about the Scott Efros thing. It's not like you did that. You just gave up a few low prospects for a third or fourth guy. And as long as, he's not repetitively on the injured list and, obviously you don't have to use him for a major role, I don't see an issue with the trade whatsoever.
But there is some downside here. Healing Men's Hearts brought up at the start of the show. The Yankees have acquired an injury-prone starter, gives up 1 to 2 home runs a game with around a career 5 ERA. Weathers' career base outruns saved is an atrocious minus 1672. Weathers only averages 40 innings a year, not very durable.
One of the issues I mentioned, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Weathers is terrible in average OPS. Oh God! So basically everything compared to league average. So there's the downside as well. So it's definitely not.
As we said, it's not like a groundbreaking move. We're supposed to be the headline move. Yeah. It's just a move for the sake of, okay, we need another arm possibly for the bullpen or possibly a long reliever. Throw this guy in to be, possibly spot starter as well. So
we've got Super Chat, Uncle T.
Yep. Dave Cullen with the $4.99 Super Chat. Appreciate you, Dave. Hey guys, I like the trade. By the way, if any of you are New York Giant fans, Harborough is currently in New Jersey for an in-person interview. Hopefully, he signs today. So, what?
I'm a pretty big Giants fan, so
I think that's a big deal. I'll let the two of you discuss that.
We can discuss that off air. But yes, let's go big.
And slow burner. Yeah, there's a lot the Yankees need to do if they're gonna, really rise above, get ahead of the competition in Toronto. We've gone over that. This was a depth move, but let's take a little. Let's sidetrack a little bit to some of the offensive possibilities, because one of the things that Donald talked about on Sunday was that the Yankees have said that what, we're done waiting for Bellinger. We're moving on. That they're showing less interest in wanting to keep keep him. And that's what I was for. Look, you opted out of your deal to go into free agency. You're dragging this thing out, but you want to come back. They gave you a respectable offer. You say no. You're holding out for more years. Look, I don't blame that. I put a comment in, when I was able to, to listen in for Mark for a minute or so. Look, the Yankees had no choice. They had to draw a line in the sand. They can't wait until everybody else is gone because they're holding out to see if Bellinger is going to be like, okay, I'm coming back. They have things. They still have a team that they have to build on. And yes, you can walk and chew gum at the same time, but you can't put offers out for, all these players. What if they all say yes? Then you're stuck. But I think my question would be: do you get into a bidding war for Tucker? The Mets have offered him 3 years at $50 million. Or do you pivot and work on your infield and go after Bichette? So with Tucker and Bichette, what do you guys prefer?
I mean, in the ideal world, I would take both Bichette and Tucker. I do think the Bellinger thing is a bit drawn out. And, I'll be honest, the start of the offseason, I would have been okay with Bellinger and Tucker in the outfield. Obviously, that's no longer a possibility because you're going to have two possibly really highly paid outfielders. I like Bellinger. I have no problem with him as a player. I don't think he is going to get the contract that he wants. I think the Yankees are playing the same strategy like the Mets did last year with Pete Alonso, where it was essentially a bidding war. Well, maybe a bidding war, maybe not. Where Pete Alonso thought he was going to get more money or more years than he was. He ends up signing for a short-term deal, opts out, and now he's in Baltimore. The Yankees with Bellinger wants a long-term deal, and obviously he is represented by Scott Boras. As I said, I like Bellinger as a player. I think he's a good defender in left field, and I think he's obviously versatile. Here's the problem. The dude is inconsistent. 1 year he's good, 1 year he's bad. 1 year he's good, and how do you possibly pay that over a 5-year contract? That's something I can't understand. Yeah. And we're not talking about MVP Cody Bellinger from like 2017 to 2019. We're talking about, okay, this dude's a solid starter. Dal, I think you brought up in one of the shows recently, I don't think he even hit 20 home runs, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that. He didn't even hit 20 home runs. Kyle Tucker is instantly above 20 home runs, 30 home runs possibly. Bo Bichette would probably give you more numbers than that. But personally, I would pivot to Tucker. He's the big fish. And to me, it's also going to be about who sets the market. Is it Tucker who's going to set the market? Is it going to be Bellinger who sets the market? Obviously, we know who the better player is. It's Kyle Tucker. Yeah. But who sets the market? Is it Bellinger? It's kind of like one is waiting for the other shoe to drop. Obviously, you have Bellinger, who is represented by Boras. You have Kyle Tucker represented by Casey Close. But in terms of Bo Bichette, I would be much in on it. But also, the Yankees, and I also want to bring this up. I know we're focused on Tucker and Bichette. Yep. The Yankees reached out to the Cubs about Nico Hoerner. I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts on that because I think he would be. Take him. I would take him as well. I think some people, and the reaction I'm seeing on Twitter is, oh, well, if you trade for Nico Hoerner and send out Jazz, that's a lateral move. But I want to hear you guys' thoughts on Nico Hoerner.
Yeah, just because obviously you brought up the home runs there. Obviously, we know he hit 29 last year, but in 2024 as a Cub, he only hit 18, and then in 2022 he hit 19. So 2021 just 10, 2020 just 12. So I'm sorry, you're going to give him 5 to 7 years? Are you out of your mind? He wants 7 years? I'm sorry, I have to jump in here because since my show, I was hoping that the Yankees were actually going to draw a line in the sand. That's actually turned out to be bullshit. They haven't drawn a line in the sand. They're still negotiating with him. They're still negotiating with him, and they're negotiating with themselves for him. Nobody else wants him for these numbers. We've offered the contract we've offered him is incredible, way above what he's worth. 5 years, over $30 million per year, That's about $150 million over 5 years. That's way above his value anyway. And he and Boris are like, no, give me 7. I would be like, rescind that contract immediately, because you guys are not. You're not running this. You're not running these negotiations in good faith. 7 years is absurd. Come on. He's had. When was he an All-Star? 2019. Give me a break. 7 years?
In sports, that's a long time ago.
That was a long time ago.
That's almost 7 years ago.
Yeah.
I know his WAR was
7.
good, 5.1. The last time, here's the number of times he said he's been a really good player. 2025 and 2023. That was it. 4.8 WAR in 2023, 5.1 WAR in 2025. Apart from that, he has been a mediocre to way below average player. And he's wanting 7 years for that. That is absurd. And someone needs to draw a line in the sand here with the Yankees, because it's embarrassing that Kyle Tucker is sitting there going, I'm here. I'm waiting.
Hello.
You know what I'm saying? Like, make me an offer. And the Yanks are like, no, we don't want to compete with the Mets. We don't want to compete with the Dodgers. We don't want to compete with the Blue Jays. So
No, they just don't want to compete.
No, they don't. I think it's an awful look for the Yankees. I really do. So they're still haggling over these contract negotiations. Jack Curry says the Yankees they're not really involved in the Kyle Tucker and Bo Bichette stuff. I think it was just posturing. I think it's media posturing. And so once again, the Yankees let me down. I was really excited when I read that the Yankees have stepped away from the Cody Bellinger negotiations in order to look at other options such as Kyle Tucker and Bo Bichette. I was like, yes, finally, the Yankees have woke up and they're being the Yankees again. And no, 24 hours later, it turns out they haven't really checked in on either of them. They're not really involved in that, and then they've looked at other options. The other options is Louis Robert from the White Sox, who had an awful year last year, and another one would be
Austin Hayes, I think, was brought up as an option.
Yeah, and then another one would be Harrison Bader. So the Yankees' backup options, none of them are like game-changing bats whatsoever. So it just says it all. I think the Yankees are. I think the Yankees are pretty complacent here, and they really think that their offense is better than it is.
Miguel says, "Is Tucker a Hall of Famer? Why are the Yankees going to pay $400 million plus?" Well, Tucker is an all-star level player. I could consider him more so in his prime than Bellinger. And again, not hating on Bellinger, but Tucker's clearly the better player. And let's also mention this, folks. I mean, I don't know how well Tucker played last year in the playoffs, but let's also remember we need postseason hitters on this team badly. Mm-hmm. Aaron Judge had to carry it by himself last year, along with Ryan McMahon with his home run in Game 4. Like Bellinger, one of the reasons I do not want him back is he was absolutely non-existent. He looked
awful,
lost at the plate last year.
Yeah,
Tucker's numbers, he was battling. The dude's had been 4-time All-Star.
You're breaking
the Cubs,
up there,
despite down season is considered.
Yeah.
It's
Miguel,
it's baseball.
Just one, Miguel, why are the Yankees? Well, to be fair, right? Here's another way to look at it. Cody Bellinger wants 5 to 7 years, right? So, I mean, he doesn't want 5 years. We were offered 5. He doesn't want it. He wants 7, right? So you have the choice of offering someone who's through most of his career has been a slightly, maybe averages out as a slightly above average player, 7 years, over $30 million per year, or you can jump in and go high AAV for less years for a better player in Kyle Tucker. Because the Mets are not offering 7 years for Kyle Tucker. From what we hear, it's about 3-4 years.
Also, I was going to add, look at the OPS numbers between Kyle Tucker and Cody Bellinger. You want to talk over the last, let's go 3-4 years. Okay. Supposedly in a down year, Kyle Tucker had an OPS last year, OPS plus of 143, 43 points above average. The year before, in his final year with the Astros, 179. The year before that, 142. The year before that, 129. Let me pull up Cody Bellinger's on my phone real quick because, again, it's not going to be as consistent. So for Cody Bellinger, his OPS pluses, last year with the Yankees, it was a 125. Okay. 111, 139, and then an 81 in the last year with the Dodgers.
That's 81?
In his final year with the Dodgers in 2022, it was an
Wow.
81.
That's 19 points below average.
Correct. And the thing is, like, I read the numbers, 140, 150 with Tucker. There's much more upside. That's what you're paying for. You're
It's
paying
also
for
more
what he is.
consistent.
Consistency, upside. He's in his prime, 4 consecutive all-star appearances. Bellinger, he's a good player, but there's no way he deserves a 7-year contract worth what he's asking for. He's going to end up
5 years. He's not even worth 5.
He's going to end up. It's going to be the same thing as the Pete Alonso situation. Whatever dumb team is going to take him, I mean, it's going to be the same situation where he's going to sign a short-term deal and then he's going to opt out, or at least have an opt-out next year, whatever. But again, I don't think Donald's right. I don't think the Yankees should be bidding against themselves for Bellinger. It's silly and it looks stupid.
And Scott Boras has handled these negotiations, I would say slightly disingenuously, let's be honest, but he's handled it like a pro. He's managed to convince the New York Yankees and Brian Cashman, who's been at this for almost 20 years, that there's this huge bidding war for Cody Bellinger. And the Yankees have gotten really excited about it. And we're like, okay, well, Christ Jesus, right? Here's $30 million, 5 years. And they're like, no, you're going to have to give me 7. No one else is bidding for Cody Bellinger. Everyone else is in for the better player, Kyle Tucker. If Cody Bellinger was that good, why is no one else in for him as much?
Not the Mets, not the Blue Jays, not the Dodgers. Neither of them are bidding for Cody Bellinger right now. Not that
They're all for Kyle Tucker, the better player, the better hitter, someone that's a game changer, someone that would actually make people want to buy season tickets for Yankee Stadium. If you had him as a protection for Aaron Judge, people would be like, shit, let's go to the stadium. This is going to be a fun year. But the Yankees are like, no, let's just focus on mediocre hitters.
I'd bet you money. I'd bet you some money that Kyle Tucker would hit more home runs in Yankee Stadium than Cody Bellinger did last year.
You will.
But as far as with them negotiating against themselves, I think what's happening is Omar Minaya and Brian Cashman are on the phone with each other, not realizing that they called the same office.
That could be quite possibly the case. I mean, Minaya wasn't Minaya the one handling the supposed winter meetings, and we've got nowhere since then.
Got nothing out of.
He's just a Muppet. I mean, you have the Red Sox making moves, you have the Orioles signing Pete Alonso. You can go on and on, but right now, I'm going to ask you this: because let's be honest, in my personal opinion, they won't go after Tucker. What's the pivot if some team pays up for Cody Bellinger? What's the pivot?
Probably Harrison Bader.
I don't mind Harrison Bader. I think he hit well in the playoffs with the Yankees, but that can't be your solution.
That's why the whole Grisham thing is still coming back to bite us in the ass.
Yep.
Because all we had to do was just not pick up his qualifying offer, and then you can sign Harrison Bader, and he plays center field, and he'd actually been a nice upgrade there on defense and center field because Grisham had a down year at center, and he'd also been a hell of a lot cheaper. And you could probably sign him for what, 12 million AAV or something like that, right? It wouldn't be much more than that. And then you put the rest in the pot for left field, then you could actually have properly gone for Kyle Tucker. And it would have been the same as paying Grisham and Cody Bellinger to be very bog standard players in the outfield. It's just disgraceful how the Yankees have handled this offseason. This offseason has been a flat disaster. I cannot emphasize it enough. Like, what a disaster. So I think it would be either Austin Hayes, maybe it would be Louis Robert, or it would be Harrison Bader. I don't think the Yankees like Dominguez that much, man.
Yeah, honestly, he would have got more playing time. Even in the playoffs too. Like, he's barely gotten playing time in the playoffs. You would have seen him. I don't know who it was, and I don't know what week it was. It has to have been before the New Year or something like that. Armin can help me out if he saw this on Twitter. Somebody credible. Could have been Joel Sherman. It could have been John Heyman. Like, they said that Hal's budget for $300 million is really impacting the Yankees offseason, which is essentially why you saw the Yankees give Grisham the qualifying offer. They're remaining low on spending and all of that, but I could be wrong. It could have been Heyman. It could have been Sherman, that the budget is really impacting the Yankees this offseason, or Hal's imposing his budgetary restrictions per se. As I said, could be wrong on that, but knowing what we've seen before, it wouldn't surprise me, especially with Hal's comments about the great bills that he has to pay to the city of New York.
Yeah, it is. It was something that we all knew was a reality of what their spending was, Luca, but it's not something that the fans want to hear about. Like, we get it. We know that there's expenses when you run a business. We're not fools. They think we are. They forget that, in New York, sports is like breathing. It's just it's a way of life. We get it, which is why we get on them so much for some of the the lackadaisical moves. Because it's been since 2009 since the Yankees have hoisted a trophy. Enough, shit will get off the pot. Let's end the drought. That's why I'm like, I made the decision to move on from Bellinger.
Right.
Like, you know what? You walked away from us. We tried to get you back. You want to play hard. And it's like, that line, she's just not into you, bro.
Right.
So move on. And I would rather, if I'm going to break the bank for anybody, I'd rather it be Tucker.
Better player. Yeah. I agree, man. It's not like, is there any signs here that Cody Bellinger is that desperate to come back?
No, he wouldn't have picked that up. He wouldn't have picked that up.
He would have taken the option.
Exactly. And as Armin said, it might have been Joel Sherman. And I guess to continue that point, Sherman, I guess, must have said it was in the same breath that he said that the Yankees are basically playing it cool until we'll see what happens with this new CBA and that type of lockout thing. That's ridiculous. It would be incredibly sad, but not surprising. But it was all in the same breath as, at least I think, Joel Sherman's the one who said it.
If Cody Bellinger was really that interested in coming back to the Yanks, or viewed the Yankees, exactly, yes. The Yankees have already gone above and beyond what any rational human being would have done by giving 5 years and over $150 million. I mean, that is a very good offer. That is a great offer. I think any agent would have, apart from Scott Boras, would have been like, if you want to be a Yankee, this is a very good offer. And he's still rejecting it because he's holding out for 7 years. So obviously he's not that keen. It's pretty obvious he's not that keen. I think pretty much 5 years, I think he should be able to sit down at that point and go, right, let's hash the final details out here to make everybody happy. But he's not. He's still like, no, you need to give me 7. I think it's pretty absurd. And that's why I would have canceled the negotiations. I would have absolutely canceled negotiations because he's not that good anyway.
No.
It's kind of like you go to get a car, right? And there's a Mercedes sitting there, brand new Mercedes, right? And the Yanks are like, no, I'm gonna go with the secondhand Honda, and are fighting and paying above the odds for the secondhand Honda, while the Mercedes is sitting right there. Now the Honda will be good, but the Mercedes will be better. But the Yankees are like, no, I want that Honda, baby. The second-hand Honda that has 100,000 miles on it. That's what I want. It's freaking stupid. It's stupid. Like, the Yanks have lost track of who they are, and it's sad. It's really annoying me, actually, to be honest. It really just gets me. But Bo Bichette would have been another option. I love Bo Bichette. Like, we could have just drawn a line in the sand, said, Cody, go fish. Good luck finding an offer. And then we could have gone to Bo Bichette. Bo Bichette changes our infield completely.
Now, I hate to interject, Donald. I talked about Nico Hoerner briefly. I know Tats remarked at it. Like, what were your thoughts on Nico Hoerner? A quick trade.
Nico Hoerner, I would love Nico Hoerner. Absolutely. That's someone that could be a leadoff hitter. He's a contact guy, high contact guy. That's the kind of player that we'd like, and it's a righty bat.
And if I'm not mistaken, he plays second and short.
Second base and shortstop.
Plays second and short.
Ideally,
any window that I could find not to have Volpe on the field, I'm taking that. I'm
Right.
going through that window.
Yeah, I just want to know what his best position is. Like, it's great to have a guy that's versatile, but like, because if you put him at second, you're putting Jazz in a hole somewhere. Like, you don't want him to play third. If you're placing him at short, I have no problem putting Caballero elsewhere. If he can play third, he can play third. But also, you got to remember, Oswaldo Cabrera is coming back this year, so you got to see what happens there. So, again, I would. If he's better at second base, then you got to. I'm sorry, you got to get rid of Jazz. I am one of those. I'm very, very much unpopular opinion. Not a huge fan of Jazz. I think he's one of those players who has crap ton of potential, superstar potential. I just think he doesn't have a winning mindset. I think he's got I don't want to see it as an attitude problem, but
he's got a head game problem.
He has a big head, and the problem is he doesn't show up in the playoffs. He doesn't play average in the playoffs. That's just
the thing is, it's like I agree with you completely on that. Like, I don't like his mentality, but I will say, we actually need his bat,
his speed,
because we need his bat and we need his speed. He's a 30-30 guy. You take away that 30. Say you make a trade for Nico Hoerner, right, and stick him at second base. You trade away Jazz Chisholm. You've now lost 30 home runs and 30 stolen bases, and there's just not much in the rest of that lineup where you can actually pick up that 30 home runs elsewhere. You know, where are you going to get that? And Volpe's not going to do that. McMahon's probably not going to do that. Grisham, I think you've seen the best of Grisham. I don't think he's going to get any better. And I don't see Cody Bellinger suddenly turning into the all-star Cody Bellinger in 2019.
Right.
So I don't see that happening. And that's my major concern, is like, I just don't think this lineup is as good as the Yankees think it is.
Absolutely.
Power-wise. And so if you bring in a contact guy with no home runs, kind of like a Nico Hoerner, then you pair that with a Caballero, who's also a contact guy without any home runs, you're suddenly the power in this lineup is really starting to drain. And I don't think we can afford that.
True.
Because our power is Aaron Judge and Big G and Ben Rice.
Oh, 100%.
That's it. That's the three guys, right? That's your three power guys.
I'll say this. If it were up to me, great comment here from NFE. He says, I wouldn't trade Jazz for nothing, though. You have to get something back. I completely agree. And he also says you lose the home runs, but the Yankees also need guys that hit for contact to balance the lineup. I will say this. If it was up to me right now, obviously I'm not the GM or anything like that. You know, if you trade for Hoerner, you send Jazz, you hope to get a good package from him. Then, and I emphasize this greatly, whether the Yankees get Bichette or not, I would have Bichette and Hoerner as a middle infield duo. The problem is obviously, you know, budget and all those things. But the reason I emphasize Bichette next to a guy like McMahon, McMahon's better defensively. Bichette covers McMahon's offensive holes because they complement each other almost perfectly. Again, Bichette's not a great defender, but he is certainly a better bat than McMahon. McMahon's not a great offensive player, but he cancels out whatever defensive woes Bo Bichette can have at shortstop. And obviously McMahon plays third. So it's ideal to have a complementary duo like that.
Mhm.
Like the Yankees wouldn't need Bichette necessarily if they didn't have an offensive liability at third base. If they had an offensive player at third base in McMahon and, well, if he was better offensively, should I say, you wouldn't need Bichette as much. But right now we do. We also need right-handed batters.
Right. So you could, I would be all over, Nico Horner replacing a Jazz had the Yankees, for instance, signed Pete Alonso and put him at first base and made Ben Rice a catcher. Then you'd be like, right, okay, cool. We got that
or
power.
Okamoto.
Yeah, or Okamoto. Had the Yankees added a power bat, a legit power bat that is going to protect Aaron Judge and help when Big G inevitably gets injured, then I'd be all over it. But the Yankees, from what I'm seeing, are not looking at any power bats. So I'm starting to think, where do we go here with kind of banjo hitters? I love banjo hitters. I'm an old school guy. I like old school hitting. But you also need to have some power here. It is 2026.
Yes.
You need to have power in this lineup. It's not like the 90s where you could actually have a lineup of guys that
contact bats,
that were just contact guys. You do need power nowadays, and there's not a lot. It's basically Judge, Ben Rice, and Big G, and Big G is only available for 2/3 of the season. So
we still don't even know.
That's why I was really invested in Kyle Tucker and Bo Bichette. I was really invested in those two guys, and the Yankees have passed on that. And I was thinking, right, if you don't get those two, sign me Pete Alonso. They passed on Pete Alonso. So it's just like, where are the Yankees going to get power in this lineup? Because you're asking too much of Aaron Judge at this point. But and another thing I'm worried about is when they do pass on Kyle Tucker and when they do pass on Bo Bichette, right? When it happens, okay, then you've signed Cody Bellinger, who will hit you 20 home runs, okay? Fair enough. What happens next offseason when they do genuinely need to add a power bat? Where are they going to go? Because that's not going to be available in free agency. This has been a great free agency to add a game-changing bat to help Aaron Judge. This was the free agency to do it. In fact, last season was the free agent to do it as well, but you passed on Juan Soto. So then you go into this one, you got Kyle Tucker, you got Bo Bichette, you got Pete Alonso,
Josh Naylor.
Those are four guys that have hit 200 home runs combined, and you're like, no, not interested. So when will you be interested? When will you be interested to help Aaron Judge? But they're not doing it. So at what point are they ever going to build around Aaron Judge? I just think this is going to be a lost year.
Yeah, the thing is about Herner, I actually looked it up. I was actually stunned at how good he hits with runners in scoring position. So he hits 371 with runners in scoring position last year, 881 OPS. Yeah, and it was a decent sample size too, 56 hits and about 151 at bats.
I would love Horner. It would be great. How about you just put me short and you don't have to worry about Anthony Volpe anymore?
In an ideal world, yes. Ideal world, yes.
I think we've just solved it. Stick him in short, you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, because they are going to need the short, to really tighten up their defense. If they're not going to have a lot of power bats, so you're not going to have, you're not going to have a lot of crooked number innings in the runs column. So you have to now focus on run prevention. Even more so. The way their infield is structured right now, it's a big question mark. Yeah, I like McMahon at third. His defense, fine. Yes, his bat is something that we would definitely like to have an improved bat at third base. But like I said, early in the offseason, if they're able to put a lineup together where an okay bat that you could bet, that you can have in the 8 or 9 slot, but have stellar defense, I would take that trade-off.
Amen.
But I don't think the Yankees are in that luxury right now where they could just say, well, as long as he's a defensive player, we don't have to worry about the offense. They're not in that spot right as the roster is constructed right now. Nowhere near it. I think Nico Horner does fill. That solves the big problem. But the Yankees with their offense, that this is why a lot of the talk, a lot of the conversation goes back to Bellinger and Tucker and Bichette, because they need to put up runs. You're banking on Grisham having a repeat year, which I don't want to say it's impossible, but extremely
Unlikely.
Unlikely. Thank you. And you're also banking on Ben Rice, continuing on the path that he's on while learning first base.
Right.
Because he's not going to be the everyday catcher.
No.
So
and he's not even a natural first baseman.
Question marks.
And he's not even a natural first baseman, T.
No.
Dave, real quick, Dave Rice says, I'm worried we may see some negative regression this year from our 34-year-old judge. Must I say, I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, this is going to sound like negative and shit, but, I wouldn't be surprised. And it's not that calling out Judge or anything like that, but like Donald has said it so many times. How many more possible years of prime Judge are you going to get?
I mean,
like for him to hit like mid 2000s Seattle Mariners A-Rod is virtually impossible every single season.
What the Yankees are forgetting here is that what they're already seeing is historic and unbelievable.
Yeah.
And they're getting it basically every single year. He had a 215 OPS plus.
100 above average.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, if you're going to say there's going to be a regression, I mean, come on. From a 215 OPS plus, I guess there would be a slight regression. 114 RBIs, 331 batting average, 53 home runs. If it goes down a little bit, then the Yankees could actually be in more trouble than they think they are, because he is the reason why our offense was amazing last year.
Oh, yeah.
He was. It wasn't because we had some unbelievable years right across the board. Aaron Judge had an incredible year. One of the most incredible years you're ever going to see. And their answer to helping him is, yeah, let's do absolutely nothing. I mean, that's a really tough sell for me, man.
And that's why this offseason's, I think we've been more negative than normal.
Right.
Even speaking for myself, I usually go into the off season with the optimism that things can get better, and I'm not getting that this year. And it's not that I'm just a negative person. I'm not. But you have to be real at the same time and call it like you see it. The Yankees have not went out and flexed their muscle to improve this team to be a championship team.
Yeah.
And my concern and my worry is Judge is going to end up on a list of baseball greats that never won a title. And it's it's a list that should not be as long as it is.
I agree.
Could not agree more.
And the reason why I'm a little bit, and to jump on you, the reason why I'm not as optimistic as I normally am in the offseason is because I'm more urgent with the fact that Aaron Judge is 34 years old. And he's given us a 62 home run season, a 215 OPS season. He had an incredible season the season before. He's given us 3 or 4 seasons of unbelievable baseball in a row. And you can't keep going to that well and asking him to play like Superman every single year. And he really benefited from having Juan Soto beside him. He really benefited. And Juan Soto benefited, don't get me wrong, but so did Aaron Judge. The two of them were unbelievable together. And it got us to a World Series. And that's why I was thinking, that's why I think the bat is more important than the glove. So for those saying, oh, what about Kyle Tucker? He's not the greatest outfielder. Who gives a shit? If he gives you 40 home runs and almost a 400 on base percentage, and you put him beside Aaron Judge, there's a very good chance this team could go right to where it needs to go, because that's what Juan Soto did, you know? And I think the Yankees have forgotten who they are, and they are banking on things to happen that's just not going to happen. Grisham's not going to hit 30 home runs again.
It's a big ask from Grisham. It's too much of an ask for Grisham to repeat what he did last year.
Absolutely.
You know, isn't it? Like I said, it's not impossible, but it's not improbable.
Is Ryan McMahon going to hit 30 home runs all of a sudden? He's not been a plus hitter in years. You know what I'm saying? So Austin Wells, is Austin Wells going to suddenly turn into freaking Jorge Posada? That's not going to happen. Like, no, it's just like they aren't real here. They aren't like tuned into reality. Is Ben Rice going to suddenly go from 26 home runs to hitting 40? I don't see it. So, like, I think that they've completely overvalued their offense.
And is Jazz going to have another 30-30 season? Like, there's a lot, you know, there's a lot of hope, which is fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with having hope for the next year. But hope only takes you so far. You still need to have the talent around it to have everything come to fruition. And the Yankees have not shown that they've been able to do that because they're trying to stay within this imaginary budget. Next year, you may be forced to have a budget, and then what do? And now you're putting yourself even further, you know, you're back further against the wall. So might as well take advantage of the fact that there's no salary cap in baseball. This could be the last offseason we have it. Take advantage of it. That's all I would ask.
I mean, is Nance being ironic?
I was going to try to say.
I'm trying to decipher it.
Serious. He might be joking, but I was going to say, in regards to what the Yankees' plan is, you know, Tats just spoke about hope. Hope is never a plan. It's like, you know, sometimes teams bank on hypotheticals. The Yankees are banking on a bunch of unlikelihoods. Is Trent Grisham really going to hit 30 home runs again? No. Is Anthony Volpe going to magically drop? Is his potential magically going to drop out of the sky when he comes back from the injured list and turn into this all-star, even average, like decent shortstop?
Right.
No. Is Austin Wells suddenly just going to regain his power back? No. And I think there's some Yankee fans on Twitter that overrate Austin Wells. Like, oh, well, he's good defensively, and he was like average offensively. I wouldn't even say he was average offensively. I think he stunk last year offensively. Like Trent Grisham, I just spoke about him. Trent Grisham, Jazz Chisholm, is he going to hit 30-30 again? I don't think so. Is Ryan McMahon going to all of a sudden slug 30 home runs? That's not probable. That's not going to happen. So they're banking on a bunch of unlikelihoods due to their own self-arrogance. I don't know what numbers they possibly could be looking at. It just doesn't seem like reality.
Some faith in the process, fella. That's under the impression that there is a process. I haven't seen much indicator that there is a process going on here. But you know, that's it. I think that they're banking on some unlikelihoods to happen, and they're going to regret passing on this really good free agent class, because this free agent class had more than enough in it that would have probably made us the best team in the American League.
There were options, right? First base, Naylor, Alonso, Okamoto.
Mm-hmm.
Outfield, Schwarber. I was about to say Schwarber, but Schwarber can't play the outfield for anything. He's a great power. You know, Tucker, starting pitching options were out there. We didn't go after Imai. They had their options. You can't say it was a dry free agent market. They had their options. They just didn't choose to go fishing.
Yeah, I don't know what they're waiting for, because Aaron Judge is 34, 35. Like, Big G is in the last 2 years of his contract. What on earth are they waiting for? That's what. Like, are they expecting some magical bat to come available at the trade deadline?
I think they are.
I was gonna say that's kind of like what it is, though. Remember last year? There's always like think about it. You look at every offseason, right? There's always one position the Yankees procrastinate building at, or at least solving in terms of issues, right? Last year was third base. They're like, okay, we're just going to enter with Oswaldo Cabrera, and then we're just going to fiddle with Jazz Chisholm at third base. And then we're going to discover that he really doesn't play that position awfully well.
Right.
So then we're going to put him back at second base. Like, oh, wow, we need a third baseman. I don't know what position that is for the Yankees this year, but there's going to be one hole that's left open. Like, okay, we're going to solve that at the trade deadline. Like we didn't know that was a problem months beforehand.
Right.
I think the answer is going to be first base. I think Rice is going to just project better.
I think it's going to be shortstop. But yeah, give me your idea. Why do you think it'll be first base?
I'm not sold on Rice as a legit first baseman yet. That's why I'm saying it could end up being third. It could be third. The bat just may be completely non-existent from McMahon. Shortstop. We don't know what Volpe. Maybe Ness is right, and Volpe's gonna. A healthier Volpe. With some time to to do some deep dive into his mind, is going to come back and he's going to be fine. Shortstop would be my number 2. It'd be first base, then shortstop. Left field is a question.
I have faith in Ben Rice, though. I do have faith in Ben Rice. I think he's got the work.
No,
right.
I think offensively he's going to be just fine.
Yeah,
I'm just hoping that this whole season he's working a lot on honing a craft in first base. He's going to need to play it every day. I just want to see that it wasn't just 1 year, that he was just that reliable. I want to see it in a second year.
I love Ben Rice. I don't think I love him at first base, though. I didn't see much last year that would convince me that he's our first baseman, but the Yankees think differently. I actually think that he could be a really good catcher if they worked on him a little bit. But maybe they're thinking about his knees. They don't want to wear him down, so they're thinking first base. So maybe that's what they're thinking. But there isn't really any backup to him. There's no first baseman on the 40-man apart from that 32-year-old from Mexico that we brought in. And so, I don't know. The shortstop, I think shortstop is the continual problem with the Yankees, and the Yankees are refusing to pay any attention to it. Caballero is the only real shortstop the Yankees have. Volpe is garbage. So it doesn't matter. And the reason why I'm saying I don't care that he's injured or not was because he was fully healthy in 2024, and he had a worse OPS in 2024 than he had in 2025 when he had one shoulder. So it's hard for me to say that Volpe is suddenly going to turn into a really good hitter when he was fully healthy, he had a worse OPS than he had in 2025. So I think shortstop is the problem position that the Yankees are paying no attention to. Jay says, "Hey guys, I'm a Tats. Our biggest hole is first base. At shortstop, we can at least have Cab." That's a good point, Jay. I prefer if my personal preference would be Ben Rice would be our catcher. If you want his bat in every day, I don't think he's a first baseman, but maybe it can change. What do you guys think?
I say he's better optimized as a catcher.
Yeah.
No, I've always thought he was a better catcher. I'd like to see that. Him and Wells' platoon. You have to start the year with him in first base because they haven't even addressed it. That's what it is. They're so freaking stubborn that everything that they've done to this point is a move that they cannot backtrack from. They cannot back up on. They have to follow this through until they completely fall on their face. And that's going to be when Judge's career is over without a World Series. That's gonna be the breaking point.
Good joke, Nez. Boone is a baseball guy.
Of course.
When he
Baseball
says
family.
Kobe is elite, I trust him. He's a winning manager. Good joke. Yeah, no, I completely agree. That's right. It'll be interesting. But listen, I hope Ben Rice turns out to be a really good first baseman.
Oh, so do I.
It would be
Me
ideal.
too.
It would be great. Could we get everybody to hit the like button? Everybody in the chat. We've been touching on between 80 and 90 people through the chat from the first minute. So we do thank you so much. If you guys could hit the like button, hit the sub button, share it out to your friends and family and the strangers on the corner, and do all the good stuff as we want to continue to grow this thing.
Yep.
Trying to load
also,
up on. I was going to say real quick, I'm trying to load up the spot track. Any first basemen that are available, if there's any left. I mean, if you want to go cheap, Bellinger's an option. If anybody wants to play the versatile routes, is still filtering the data. Okay, available. Bellinger, Rhys Hoskins. Yeah, these are a bunch of not great names. Bellinger, Rhys Hoskins, Paul Goldschmidt, Nathaniel Lau, Justin Turner, Wilmer Flores, Ty France, Santana, Dominic Smith, Miguel Andujo. Yeah, it's a drop-off.
Nathaniel Lau, I quite like him.
What if I'm not mistaken? He was DFA'd last year, and then the Red Sox claimed him off waivers. The Nationals, I believe, DFA'd him, and then the Red Sox claimed him off waivers.
I think he was really good for the Red Sox.
Well, let's substantiate that. 2 homers, 16 RBIs in 34 games, OPS plus of 121. 280 batting average. If he could build on that, sure, but he cannot be the number one option at first base. That would be
no, probably not. But he was someone that I quite like. Jay has a really good point here. We have Caballero at shortstop with the Young and even Rosario, which isn't great at defense. But who's a backup if Rice gets hurt or makes a bunch of errors? We need to get Rumsfeld ready ASAP. He's kind of right. We don't have another first baseman.
Jay's absolutely right.
Unless you're putting Oswaldo Cabrera at first, coming off injury, which would be negligent.
That's a question.
That
him in the outfield is a question.
It would probably be, the honest truth is it'll probably be Cody Bellinger. Cody Bellinger would probably be the first baseman, and then maybe Dominguez plays left field. That's their only real option. Otherwise, it would be that dude Torres, from the Mexican League, who's 32 and hasn't been on a big league roster in his entire career, and was last seen in AAA in like 2018 or something, 2019. So like, that's not really a good option. Duran says, I don't think Belly's going to be a Yankee. Donald, I hope you're right, Duran, but I don't think there's a market for Bellinger, and I think the Yankees are competing
this
for
time. We're getting desperate.
Right. I honestly think that it was all posturing. And my last show, I was hoping that the Yankees were going to turn around and then make a bid for Kyle Tucker, blow everyone out the water, bring in Kyle Tucker, and then everyone's right with the world. But no, I think they're just negotiating with Bellinger, and they just got their panties in a twist and got hurt. That Scott Boras isn't playing ball, so they went to the media, bit of a media game, hoping to get something out of it. I think at the end of the day, I think he'll probably be a Yankee. If not, I'd be delighted because I'm done with Bellinger. Like, I would have been happy to bring Bellinger back, but the way he's handled these negotiations, wanting 7 years, I think it's disingenuous. So, like,
it's quite pernicious.
Yeah, I think he's on something if he really thinks that he's worth 7 years. So,
yeah, it's right now. Any additions that are made, unfortunately, are going to be in the mid-tier market in free agency, or some miraculous trade that just comes and saves us. And that's still yet to be seen. I don't know. There's no way of getting in their head to know what their plan is because they don't.
This is a really good point by Nez here. What do you think of this point?
Yeah.
No, it's a shock. Yeah.
Like,
It's the same
That's
thing
the-
what happened years ago, right? The Yankees were supposedly, we're too right-handed. Okay, as Dal said, overcorrected. Let's go completely full lefty. That's the real answer. That's the real answer.
it's like
Brian Cashman forgets that he's been in charge for the last 20 years.
Especially
it's not like he just came into this.
Right. He didn't just walk into this situation. He's the one that's made the conscious decision to keep adding left-handed batters all the time. He added them. We didn't need another left-handed bat, and he added McMahon, another left-handed bat. It's like,
What? Yeah, it's this team's just a mess.
it is a bit.
Yeah, now they're starting to pull lefty pitches. Well, lefty pitching, like I said, if they're going to put it, if Weathers ends up in the pen, along with to go to pair up with Tim Hill, I think that's an asset for the Yankees. Yankees in the bullpen. I do think that. We're just going to see where things go, and we will hopefully have more clarity on some of these positions that we've talked about. Some of the free agents. We'll have a little bit more of a vision of where everything is going. So, but with that, we want to thank everybody for hanging out with us today. Want to welcome Luca and congratulate him on surviving his first show as the new co-host. So, with that, make sure for him you hit that like button, hit that sub button, share this out, your friends, your family, the strangers on the corner. I'm Uncle Tats with Donald, with Luca. Remember to wear those pinstripes of pride and play hard.